Hi, my name is Leah, and I'm a clinician with the Mass Support Network.
And I'm Kolby, and I'm an outreach crisis counselor with the Mass Support Network. Today, we're excited to share another mindful moment with you.
Thank you, Colby. Today, we're going to focus a little bit on the idea of boundaries and specifically our relationship to boundaries and how that might have shifted a little bit during the pandemic, or maybe not, but also in this time of doing things a little more virtually probably than you might have done in the past, especially if you're watching this video right now. And then also how we have to be a little more aware of our physical boundaries with health concerns and the effect that might have on us. And with all that in mind, we'll also work on a subtler idea of boundaries. So emotional boundaries you make with other people, that you have with your own emotions. And yeah, so we'll go from there. So I really think that one of the healthiest habits we can learn is to have these clear and strong boundaries, and they don't have to be thought of as like walls. It's just knowing your limit and sensing into that. And they can really be for ourselves, not so much for others. It's not, again, like not a protection. They're not selfish, and they're really a form of self-care. So it fits in with our overall mindful moment theme. And sometimes people have trouble differentiating feelings from your feelings from others. So that can be a sign that you might need to build those boundaries a little more or spend a little more time on that. Or if you tend to absorb other people's feelings and find yourself really weighed down or preoccupied by the energy of others, that might be happening a little bit more than usual these days. Or if you have trouble saying no, or identify yourself as a highly sensitive person, a people pleaser, or an empath. So the boundaries best that we're going to work on, it could be a really great tool for your self-care kit if any of those things really ring true for you. And even if not, it might be useful.
Just to sort of piggyback off of that with boundaries, I noticed that when I was still working in a workplace rather than virtually, it was much harder for me to sort of draw those boundaries. Um, Previously I worked in healthcare, and so being in person with employees every day was sort of like the only human connection I would have for the day, during the pandemic. And I would notice sometimes maybe I was falling behind on my work because conversation seemed, very important to me, not having that, when I'm not at work, or having less of it with sort of some of the isolating effects the pandemic has had on me personally. So I have found with virtual sort of work that it's a little bit easier on me to exercise those boundaries. And that really made me sort of look inward and pay attention to the way I keep boundaries, prior to the pandemic. Um, so I think if you take anything from, this exercise today, it's just pay attention to your own boundaries and, take an inventory of what do you need to practice healthy boundaries.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Colby. Yeah, I can definitely relate to some of what you said around this time being unique and requiring some internal focus on how we use our boundaries or how we really rely on them to keep going. And I really appreciate you sharing. I think that I've had just more opportunity to uh, feel more full in who I am within the space of boundaries, if that makes sense. And if it doesn't, that's fine too. But I really think that it's kind of like a safety net or like a blanket. I like to imagine a boundary being that way, and that they can really move in different times as we need. Certainly, like times of like a pandemic might be different, or times of day, and different relationships. But there's an idea of safety and warmth and being able to be yourself fully within that boundary for yourself, like you said so nicely. And so we'll go into a little breathing exercise in a moment, but then first Kolby will introduce really nice intention and mantra that we can maybe keep in mind as we go into the breathing exercise. You can also choose one that fits your needs for right now too.
Thank you, Leah. So mantras are short, powerful phrases that you can use sort of throughout your day, at nighttime, really anytime. And they tend to be these positively charged words, and they can bring us comfort, positivity, peace. And so today, if you will, with me, just set this intention or whatever resonates for you, that whatever I do today will be enough. And you can recite this mantra as many times as needed, either out loud or quietly to yourself, whenever feels right for you. And as you repeat these words in this mantra, you can gently nod your head like you're saying yes. The positive movement will help you affirm that whatever you accomplish today will indeed be enough. Like Leah said before, in this idea of boundaries and understanding sort of our personal limits. So once again, I will say, whatever I do today will be enough.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kolby. So we'll move into a breathing exercise that is inspired by Ashley Neese's beautiful book called How to Breathe, and the subtitle I'll get in a second, but we'll post on our YouTube video information, full of really great breathing exercises and wonderful reflection too, and information about the exercises. All right, so we've done a lot of talking. Let me just take a moment to settle into wherever you're sitting. If it's on the floor or in a chair, just shift a little bit. And you can keep your eyes open if you like, or close your eyes, soften your eyes to gaze down at your nose. And take a full breath in through your nose. And full breath out through your mouth. Just one more like that. Breath. And side out. Okay, and then this time take a deep breath in through your nose and then breathe out also through your nose. That's 2 or 3 rounds. And follow your own breath. And stay with that pace of breath and breathe in and out through your nose. And if you like, if it's in your practice, if you know how to do this, or you can just listen to how to do it. I'll explain. There's an idea of an ujjayi breath, which involves a little constriction at the back of your throat to make your breath just slightly audible, and not necessarily so anyone else could hear in the room if you're with people, but it's something you can hear and adds a little texture. You might feel a little warmth if you exhale through your nose with that constriction. Okay, so as you continue to breathe, begin by visualizing a sphere of gold that's surrounding you as you inhale. You can imagine it traveling from your toes all the way around your feet, to your shins and knees, up to your thighs, and your torso and chest, all the way around your arms and back, and then around your neck, out the crown of your head, and maybe that sphere travels all the way back down. And so another big breath in And the next exhale, just keep that sphere where it is. Wherever it's landed in your visualization around your body, let it settle. And if you can, just notice where there's an edge of this sphere and how that's in relation to your body. And maybe it's pressed all the way against your body, and maybe that edge is different in different parts. And maybe it's far away. Maybe there's a foot or a couple inches or even more between the edge of the sphere and the edge of your body. So just make note of that. And then come back with a little more awareness to your breath. And be curious. So I like to then notice those different areas. Like, I noticed it was a little bit more, it was closer to my chest area, that sphere. That might not be the case for you, but just be curious about that for your own experience. And go through different parts of your body and notice maybe how that sphere feels, or if it's still with you. If it's drifted away, that's okay too. And come back to your breath. And take another full breath in through your nose, and then out through your mouth. Another couple breaths on your own pace. And then as we come to a close of this exercise, as the sphere is settling, or if it's drifted away, just note where it is, and notice if there are any words that are associated with that sphere, with this boundary that we're creating and that we're honoring. And so I like to really keep in mind that intention that Kolby had offered, and it was in my heart and mind in the beginning, and then I like to bring it back more fresh right now. So this idea of being enough, and maybe that was really nourished for you. It was for me, focusing on this gold sphere. And maybe there's some other words or emotions that come up for you. And keep note of that. And then we'll close out our practice together. So since we've been sitting a lot and listening, just shift a little bit more and then reach your arms up overhead. You could stretch over to one side and then the other. Shake it out. And bring your hand to your head. I think kind thoughts. I speak kind words, and I have a kind heart. And thank you so much for joining us today.